I'm Gloria Keith with Action Speaks, Heritage Excellence Education Journal. And as you will see in my introduction um, description, that I'm reading again tonight on, well, basically the subject we are studying, the subject of combating and understanding internalized oppression, or shall I say, we are dealing with one major form of internalized oppression, which is racism. As I look around the communities and the news, I'm not seeing things that I really love as to how we are dealing with the internalized oppression of how it appears that we want to continue on with the same pace that we have in the past. And hopefully, the readings of Harvey Jackins on the subject of combating and understanding internalized oppression will help us to deal with the damages, the distresses, the hurt, the pains that we have um, received from racism, to make a long story short. So I will read and hopefully you will listen. And if you don't listen tonight, when you do a replay, that you will find something in there that will help you to deal with or to understand what internalized oppression is and how we must deal with it in order to overcome racism, to not just to overcome it, but to eradicate, to erase, to get rid of racism, or strive to. Anyway, if it doesn't happen in my time or your time, that it will happen. The Frontiers of Theory. This is Theory on Reevaluation Counseling, June 1988. And of course, this is from Harvey's book, Start Over Every Morning by Harvey Jackins, who, as I explained, that Harvey was my mentor and teacher. There are some key points of theory that have been evolving in this last year. As with all good theory, it's anti-pattern, so it's easily forgotten. And we need to refresh it and review it. I'll try to cover some of these key points and then spend a good deal of this weekend, and this was doing a workshop, concentrating on effective ways to discharge internalized oppression. That's the key to using a lot of our knowledge. At the faculty leaders workshop a couple of weeks ago, I realized that certain attitudes exist everywhere in the community. It's a general problem. One of the articles in the New Present Time tries to deal with it. It's a little tricky. One of the things, excuse my clock, and next time I will try to remember to take the batteries out of my grandfather's clock before we get started. At the faculty's leaders workshop a couple of weeks ago, I realized that certain attitudes exist everywhere in the community. This is Harvey speaking. It's a general problem. One of the articles in the New Present Time, which is one of the magazines of reevaluation counseling, tries to deal with it. It's a little tricky. One of the things we have to keep continually in mind and continually reminding ourselves of is that in spite of all our patterns and in spite of all the oppression, we are still, we are presently enormously intelligent. Our intelligence has been excluded, but has been destroyed or replaced. It's waiting to be uncovered. We are enormously intelligent. Each one of us has the intelligence of an Einstein and a Michelangelo and a Madame Curie and a Martin Luther King, all functioning together. We have far more intelligence available to us with a little uncovering than the best functioning person of the past has ever been able to use at any particular time, even though some of them did pretty well. We have not lost it. We have not had it destroyed. It's just waiting to be uncovered. Good and aware. Each one of us is enormously good. The person who's doing the most evil act is having his arms and mouth jerked by a pattern. The person himself is completely good, completely innocent. Each of us, first person singular and second person singular, when we are co-counseling, is that wonderful, good entity, completely good, completely upward trend. Each of us has the ability to be aware, to notice what's going on. We treasure every evidence of this. In part, it's been excluded, but it's not been destroyed. We can reach out to awareness. We can reclaim the habit of thinking about what's going on while it's going on, instead of tunneling our way through life as the hurts and the oppression have convinced many of us we have to do. We can actually operate awarely. This possibility is there, continues Harvey. Decisive. We have other great abilities than we have only recently become confident about. One is the complete freedom of decision. Each one of us is able to decide anything she wants to, any way she wants to, any time she wants to. This has been explored in some extent by a relatively small number of co counselors, and they've made understanding progress when they started relying on this. I generally mention three people: D, who's publicized well anyway, who basically relies on decision. She made a decision. Anything in the way of women's complete flowering is going to be eliminated. She functions like that all the time. D is easily the most influential women's leader who has ever lived. You look at all the famous women leaders in the past and look at how many women actually followed them. And it's a tiny number compared to the number of women just in RC who support D. And she has a big following outside of RC, reevaluation counseling. A says she relies on decisions. She made a key decision to go out and cover Micronesia. She shook day after day after day. And when she came home, everybody in Hawaii began pleading with her to come and be a consultant to them. She's just reached from, she's just reached for it. She just reached for it in every direction. She says she simply decided, acted on the decision, and then the discharge rolled off. G, a working class intellectual woman down in Delaware, got fed up with what was on television for children. She went to her university and one of the public television stations and made a series of short tips for parents. Other series have been made since. Several million people watch her tips. After a few months, they're spreading across the country out of the Delaware Valley as other public television stations and small chains brought borrow them. Her station gives them to other stations free. There's something in the last present time, which is a magazine of RC, telling how to get them on your TV if you want them. Basically, she just made a decision. There are a few dozen more who've done that and are beginning to be widely influential. C is hired by many non RC men organizations to come and inspire them and does a good job inspiring. I'll read this last paragraph for tonight because it's getting a little hot in here because I turned the air condition off and turned the fan on. And I guess I'm just not used to the higher temperatures. My body doesn't need it. But I'll read this last paragraph for tonight. Powerful. What a great topic. The latest big insight that we have has not, in general, been used yet. We're going to do a little bit of work on it here. It is the realization that we have complete power, not the power to push other people around, which is the usual meaning of the word in the oppressive society, but power to have the universe respond to us in the way we want it to. That power is intact. It's just covered over with the millions of fierce, hurtful announcements in the past that we haven't any power at all. The orders to shut up and do what we are told. These have fallen on us by the million since we were born. But the power is there intact. We need to keep this picture before us all the time against the pressure of the patterns, against the rationalizations like, oh, we're doing pretty good. Maybe someday something will be better. And all these other compromises with the distress. It is clear that right now we have this enormous intelligence, this great good will and goodness, this awareness, this complete freedom of decision and complete power to have things go the way we want them to. It's one other paragraph before we get to the next topic. And yet, and this is the breakthrough clarification that we made at the faculty conference, we have distorted our interpretation of this clarity in a way that has held back the development of RC, reevaluation counseling. It has certainly held back the development of Black RC as well. We hear these insights, we get very excited by them. We read the guidelines. Some people find the guidelines and cry about them for many sessions because they never dreamed there could be such rational suggestions for people's relating to each other. Most RCers have never read the guidelines. You might try it. We get this picture, these insights as to how we could relate, and these other insights that make up RC. Then many of us make the assumption that other RCers are already like this, and that the RC community that has such great ideas is perfect, and we project the ridiculous expectation on RC and RCers and on the RC community. We then become disappointed. Our patterns, he said, have found the roundabout way, an excuse of getting back into negative non functioning instead of our taking the insights and using them, combating and understanding internalized oppression. Thank you for listening. We will continue with the next topic, unreasonable expectations, when I have the opportunity and feel comfortable about streaming. Again, about combating and understanding internalized oppression within our own home, within our own selves, within our own families, within our own communities. If we can combat and understand internalized oppression, we will be well on the way of eradicating racism. Thank you for listening, and may God bless you, and may you understand internalized oppression a little better than you did before you received this information from Harvey's book, Start Over Every Morning by Harvey Jackins. This is Gloria Keith with Action Speaks, Heritage Excellence Education Journal. Thank you for listening, and may God bless you and continue to keep you well.